yours.
You seem to me to be living entirely for pleasure.
What else is there to live for, Mother? Nothing ages like happiness.
You are heartless, sir. Very heartless.
Oh, I hope not, Mother. Good evening, Lady Basildon.
Are you here? I know you're here to political party.
Oh, I adore political parties. It's the only place left for us where people don't talk politics.
Oh, I delight in talking politics. I talk them all day long. Oh, but I can't bear listening to them. I don't know how the unfortunate men out of the house stand these long debates.
If I never listened.
Really?
Oh, yes. You see, it is a very dangerous thing to listen. When one listens, one may be convinced. And a man who allows himself to be convinced of an argument is a thoroughly unreasonable person.
Oh, that accounts for so much in men I never understood before. And so much in women their husbands never appreciate in them.
Our husbands never appreciate anything in us. We have to go to others for that.
Yes, always to others, have we not?
And these are the views of the two ladies who are known to have the most admirable husbands in all of London.
Then it is exactly what we can't stand. My Reginald is quite hopelessly faultless. He really is unendurably so at times. There's not the smallest element of excitement in knowing him.
How terrible, really. The thing must be more widely known.
But Basildon is quite as bad, really. You're as domestic as if you were a bachelor.
My poor Olivia, we have married such perfect husbands and are well punished for it.
I should have thought it was the husbands who were punished.
Oh dear, no. They're as happy as possible. And as for trusting us, it is perfectly tragic how much they trust us.
Perfectly tragic.
Or comic, Lady Basildon?
Certainly not comic, Lord Goring. How unkind of you to suggest such a thing.
I'm afraid Lord Goring is in the camp of the enemy, as usual. I saw him talking to that Mrs. Cheveley.
Oh, handsome woman, Mrs. Cheveley.
Please don't praise other women in our presence.
Of course, and rather sensible remark for even Mrs. Cheveley to make too.
Why are you talking about Mrs. Cheveley? Everybody is talking about Mrs. Cheveley. Lord Goring said, what did you say, Lord Goring, about Mrs. Cheveley? Oh, I remember that she was a genius in the daytime and a beauty at night.
Oh, what a horrid combination. It's so very unnatural.
I like looking at geniuses and listening to beautiful people.
That is quite morbid of you, Mrs. Marquardt.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that, Lord Goring. Marquardt and I have been married for 7 years, and he has never once told me that I was morbid. It's so painfully unobservant.
Oh, well, I have always said, dear Margaret, that you were the most morbid person in all of London.
Oh, but you're always so sympathetic, Olivia.
I am.
Is it morbid to have a desire for food? I have a great desire for food. Lord Goring, will you get me some supper?
With pleasure, Miss Mabel.
How horrid you have been. You have not talked to me the entire evening.
Well, how could I? You went away with that child little Mattis.
You might have followed us. The suit would have only been polite. I don't think I like you more this evening.
Well, I like you immensely.
Well, I wish you would show it in more of a marked way.
Olivia, I have a curious feeling.
So,
Lord Goring, you are always ordering me out of the room. I think it is most courageous of you, especially as I'm not going to bed for hours. Now you can come and sit down if you like and talk about anything in the world except for the Royal Academy, Mrs. Cheveley, and novels in the Scotch dialect, for these are not improving subjects. Someone has dropped a diamond brooch. Quite beautiful, isn't it? Oh, I wish it were mine. But Gertrude, you won't let me wear anything but these, and these are so boring and so plain and so intellectual, and I wonder who dropped this.
yes, I wonder who dropped it.
It's quite beautiful brooch, right?
It is a handsome bracelet,
It isn't a bracelet, it's a brooch.
but it can't be used as a bracelet.
What are you doing?
Miss Mabel, I'm going to make a rather strange request to you.
Oh, pray do. I've been waiting the entire evening.
Do not let anyone know that I've taken charge of this brooch. If anyone is to write and claim it, let me know at once.
That is a strange request.
Yes, well, you see, I gave this brooch to someone once years ago.
You did.
Yes?
Then I'm afraid I must bid you good night. Good night, Gertrude.
Right here. You saw who Lady Morphy brought here tonight?
Yes? It was an unpleasant surprise. What did she come here for?
Apparently to try and lure Robert to a purpose and fraudulent scheme in which she's interested. The Argentine canal, in fact.
She has mistaken her man, hasn't she?
Oh, she is incapable of understanding an upright nature like my husband's.
Well, I should fancy that she came to grief as she tried to get Robert into her toils. It is extraordinary what astounding mistakes clever women make.
I don't call women at that time clever. I call them stupid.
Same thing often. Good night, Lady Chiltern.
My dear Arthur, you're not going. Do stop a little.
Afraid I can't. Thanks. I promised to look in at the Heart Box this evening. Apparently they had a mauve Hungarian band playing mauve Hungarian music, but I will see you soon. Good night, Lady Chiltern.
Good night.
It is a very awkward business. Very awkward indeed. But you should have told your wife the whole thing. Now, secrets from other people's wives are a necessary luxury in modern life, or so I'm always told at the club by people who are bold enough to know any better. It's no man to keep a secret from his own wife. She invariably finds out. Women have a wonderful instinct about things. They can discover absolutely everything except the obvious.
Arthur, I couldn't have told my wife. When could I have told her? Not last night. It would have made a lifelong separation between us, and I would have lost the love of the one woman in the world I worship. The only woman who has ever stirred love within me. No, last night had been quite impossible. She would have turned from me in horror. Horror and in contempt.
Is Lady Chiltern as perfect as all that?
Yes, my wife is as perfect as all that.
But it's... My dear fellow, I beg your pardon. I did not quite mean that, but if what you're saying is true, I should like to have a serious conversation about life with the Lady Chiltern.
Quite useless.
May I try?
Yes, but nothing can make her alter her views.
At the worst, we shall call it a psychological experiment.
Oh, such experiments are terribly dangerous.
Everything is dangerous, my dear fellow. If it wasn't, life would not be worth living. Well, I am bound to say that you should have told your wife the whole thing years ago.
When we were engaged, do you think she would have married me if she'd known that the origin of my fortune is such as it is? The basis of my career is such as it is, and that I've done something that I suppose most men would consider shameful and dishonorable.
Most men would call it ugly names, there's no doubt about that.
Men who every day do something of the same kind themselves, men who each one of them have worse secrets in their own lives.
Yes, but that is why they are so pleased to find out other people's secrets. It distracts public attention from their own.
And after all, whom did I wrong by what I did? No one.
Except yourself, Robert.
Of course, I had private information of a certain transaction contemplated by the government of the day, and I acted on it. Private information is practically the source of every large modern-day fortune.
And public scandal invariably the result?
Arthur, do you think that what I did nearly 10 years ago should be brought up against me now? Do you think it fair that a man's whole career should be ruined for a fault done in one's boyhood almost? I was 20 at the time, and had the double misfortune of being well-born and poor. Two unforgivable things nowadays. Is it fair that the folly, the sin of one's youth, if men choose to call it sin, should reckon life as mine? Should place me in the pillory, should shatter all I have worked for? All I have built up, is it fair, Arthur?
Life is never fair, Robert, and perhaps it is a good thing for the most of us that it is not.
Every man of ambition has to fight his century with his own weapons. What this century worships is wealth. The god of this century is wealth. To succeed, one must have wealth. At all costs, one must have wealth.
You underrate yourself, Robert. Without wealth, you would have succeeded just as well in
When
life.
I was old, perhaps. When I had lost all passion for power, could not use it. When I was tired, worn out, disappointed. No, I wanted success when I was young. Youth is the time for success. I couldn't wait.
Yet you certainly have had your success while you were young. No one of our day had such brilliant success. Under Secretary of Foreign Affairs at the age of 30? That's good enough for anyone, I should think.
And if it should all be taken away from me, if I should lose everything over a horrible scandal, if I'm hounded out of public life.
Robert, how could you sell yourself for money?
I didn't sell myself for money. I bought success at a great price.
Yes,
That's all.
you certainly have paid a great price for it. But what at first made you think of doing such a thing?
Baron Arnheim?
Baron! Damn scoundrel.
No.
Damn scoundrel!
No! He was a man of the most refined and subtle intellect. A man of culture, charm, and distinction. One of the most intellectual men I've ever met.
That is why I prefer a gentlemanly fool any day.
Oh.
There is so much more to be said for stupidity than people can imagine. Personally, I have a great admiration for stupidity. It's a sort of fellow feeling, I suppose.
Yes.
But how did he do it? You tell me the whole thing.
One night after dinner at Lord Radley's, the Baron began talking about success in modern life as something that one could reduce to an absolute definite science. That wonderfully fascinating quiet voice of his, he expounded upon the most terrible of all philosophies, the philosophy of power. Preached to us the most marvelous of all gospels, the gospel of gold. I think he saw the effect he had produced on me. Some days afterwards, he wrote and asked me to come and see him. He was living in Park Lane, the house Lord Woolcombe has now. I remember so well how, with that strange smile on his pale, curved lips, he led me through his wonderful picture galleries, showed me his tapestries, his enamels, his carved ivories, his jewels. Made me wonder at the strange loveliness of the luxury in which he lived. And then told me that luxury was nothing but a background. A painted scene in a play, and that power over others, power over the world, was the one thing worth having, the one supreme pleasure one never tired of. And that in this century, only the rich possessed it.
Thoroughly shallow creed.
I didn't think so then. I don't think so now. Wealth has given me enormous power. It gave me at the very outset of my life freedom. And freedom is everything. You have never been poor, and you cannot understand what a chance the Baron gave me. Such a chance as few men get.
Well, fortunately for them, if one is to judge by result. But tell me definitely, how did the Baron finally persuade you to do what you did?
When I was going away, he told me that if I ever had any private information of real value, he would make me a very rich man. I was dazed at the prospect he held out to me. My ambition and desire for power were at the time boundless. 6 weeks later, certain private documents passed through my hands.